Have you ever just looked around your city and wondered why that sleek glass skyscraper is sitting right next to a building covered in all these, ornate carvings? Well, it's not random. Nope, it's actually the result of this dramatic 150-year-old debate between technological revolution and human rebellion. Okay, let's dive into this story that's literally written in the stone, steel, and glass all around us.
It's such a simple question, right? But the answer is this fascinating clash of huge ideas. Every single building you see is like a physical artifact of a decision, an argument, or some new invention that just completely changed the rules of the game. So, to really get a grip on all this, we've got to go back to the Big Bang moment from modern architecture, the Industrial Revolution. And this wasn't just about steam engines and factories, it was about the very stuff we build with.
And this is where our story really kicks into high gear. See, the arrival of mass-produced iron and steel didn't just improve building, it completely reinvented it from the ground up. It was a total game changer.
What's just wild here is the speed of it all. I mean, think about it. In less than 40 years, we go from the Crystal Palace, basically this gigantic greenhouse made of prefabricated iron and glass, to suddenly having cheap, strong steel thanks to the Bessemer process. Then you get safe elevators, which finally make tall buildings practical. And it all leads up to the iconic Eiffel Tower. Each one of these wasn't just a step, it was a giant leap.
And the impact of all this, it was absolutely breathtaking. For the first time in human history, the old limits of stone and wood were just shattered. Architects could suddenly dream of structures that were lighter, taller, and way more open than anyone had ever imagined. This is literally the birth of the modern skyline.
But not everyone was celebrating. You'd think they would be, right? As factories were churning out all these new machine-made materials, a really powerful counter-movement started to bubble up. It was a philosophical rebellion against what many saw as the soullessness of the machine.
And this was the central question they were asking. In this big race for efficiency and height, were we losing something important? Craftsmanship, beauty, the human touch? For a lot of people, the answer was a loud and clear yes.
And this slide really nails the two opposing worldviews. On one side, you've got the industrial approach. It's all about being machine-made, mass-produced, and prefabricated, efficient. And on the other side, you have the arts and crafts philosophy. They valued things that were handcrafted, unique, and showed truth to materials. Basically let wood look like wood and stone look like stone.
So this rebellion kind of went in two main directions. First, you had the arts and crafts movement, with guys like William Morris, who looked back to medieval guilds and handmade quality. Then there was Art Nouveau. Think of Antoni Gaudí's incredible wavy buildings in Barcelona. They looked to nature, completely rejecting the straight lines of the factory for the flowing organic curves of plants and animals.
But here's where it gets really interesting. What came next wasn't just another reaction. It was a powerful synthesis. A new generation of architects came along who saw the debate not as man versus machine, but as man mastering the machine.
And this right here is the birth of modernism. These modernists, they didn't want to smash the machines. They wanted to get in the driver's seat. They embraced industrial efficiency. They loved new materials like steel and glass, but they wanted to use them to create a brand new, rational, and beautiful world.
And this whole new philosophy was championed by a few absolute giants, the masters of modernism. Each one had a powerful, super memorable mantra that basically summed up their entire worldview.
First up, the American architect Louis Sullivan, who's often called the Father of Skyscrapers. And his big idea, the one that really laid the foundation for everything, was form follows function. The purpose of a building, its function, should be the starting point for its design. No more useless decoration. Everything has to have a reason for being there.
Then you have the Swiss-French architect Le Corbusier, who really took the machine age idea and just ran with it. He famously, and pretty controversially, declared that a house should be a machine for living in, as efficient and logically designed as a car or an airplane. People are still arguing about this one.
And he didn't just talk about it. He laid out a whole formula. His 5 points used modern materials like reinforced concrete to do revolutionary things. Lift the building up on columns, which freed up the ground. Open up the floor plan. Let the outer walls be just a skin, not for support. And even give nature back by putting a garden on the roof. I mean, this was a complete rethinking of what a house could even be.
And finally, we get to Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, the undisputed master of minimalism. His iconic phrase, "less is more," became the slogan for the whole international style. He just stripped buildings down to their absolute beautiful essentials, a skeleton of steel and a skin of glass.
So for decades, this minimalist glass box style popped up in cities all over the world. It was dominant. But you know that cycle of revolution and reaction we talked about? Well, it wasn't over, not by a long shot.
Just when it seemed like modernism had totally won, a new rebellion started to brew. Architect Robert Venturi cheekily took Mies van der Rohe's famous mantra and flipped it on its head, saying, "Less is a bore." And this was the dawn of postmodernism. It really reflected the cultural shifts of the 60s and 70s, this feeling of questioning authority and rigid rules. Architects started rejecting what they saw as the cold, boring world of modernism. So they brought back color, ornament, and historical references, often with a sense of humor, like skyscrapers that look a bit like old grandfather clocks.
Whew, okay, that was a lot, I know. We've jumped from iron palaces to glass boxes and way beyond. So to make sure these ideas are sticking, let's try a quick question.
All right, think back. Who was the one who gave us that foundational phrase, the idea that the purpose of a building should define its shape? Was it A, Mies van der Rohe, B, Le Corbusier, or C, Louis Sullivan?
And the answer is C, Louis Sullivan. It was his core principle that really paved the way for those functional, soaring skyscrapers that Le Corbusier and Mies would later perfect in their own signature styles.
And at the end of the day, that's the big takeaway here. The next time you walk through a city, just remember, you're walking through a physical library of ideas. Every building is a chapter in this huge story of revolution, reaction, and this ongoing quest to figure out how we should live in the modern world.
And look, this debate between technology and the human touch is far from over. Today we're talking about things like AI-driven design, 3D printed houses, and sustainable living buildings. So I'll leave you with this question. What ideas, what new revolutions and rebellions do you think are shaping the cities of tomorrow?